My name is Jaipal Singh. I'm an account manager here at Ogilvy, and most of what I do is working on social campaigns. Our client is Huawei, so they're a large smartphone developer, and each year before they release the next operating system for their devices, they want to make sure obviously that it's glitch-free, that it works without a hitch. So the way they do that is they release a beta version of their software, make it available to their users, and then they get feedback so that they can perfect it before the official release. They came to us to do exactly that. In previous years, what they'd done was create a landing site, had their users download the software, fill in their information, and then on the site, their users could give feedback and tell Huawei essentially what needed to be fixed. The problem with that was two things. They didn't really get a lot of feedback. People just aren't willing to go out of their way to providing, feedback that they'll never see. And two, the quality of the feedback that they did get wasn't very high. So our challenge was, in any way we wanted to do it, it was to do two things. It was to get as much feedback on the operating software as possible, and to make sure that that was high quality feedback that Huawei could use to perfect their software. The previous solutions that Huawei used to come up with on a year-by-year basis was creating a landing site. We went back to the drawing board and we wanted to really look at the consumers. What is it that they do? Where do they spend their time? And our insight wasn't groundbreaking, but it was incredibly effective. We wanted to just reach them where they spend their time and to make it as easy as possible for them to provide the feedback. So in the end, what we ended up creating was a chatbot that lived on Huawei's Facebook page. We created the architecture for the conversations. It was entirely automated. So what we did was we cut out a lot of the back and forth time in terms of communications. We took away all the human error, and we were also able to automatically organize and systematically, basically categorize all the feedback that we did get. And then ultimately that went to the headquartered team in China. So the key objectives were basically two things. Was to get as much feedback as possible and make sure that that was high quality. The more we were able to do this, or the better we were able to achieve this objective, the better Huawei could implement feedback, implement changes, fix any problems, and at the end of the day, that would help them create the best possible product, which is an operating system that works for its users. In two metrics, basically. How much high quality feedback did we get, and what was Huawei able to do with that feedback? So in this campaign, we were able to get 30,000 pieces of feedback. So that's 30,000 different people who took the time to answering the questions that we had through the chatbot, telling us what was right, what was wrong, what they liked, and more. That number was 75 times the amount of feedback that we got from the previous year, and it was 16 times the target that we'd set with our client. But that's great on paper. It doesn't really tell us where that feedback went. Months later, after Huawei rolled out the operating software, they let us know that it's Android 5.0, and it turned out to be one of the highest downloaded pieces of software, and it was actually their highest rated in terms of quality. So that really showed that the quality of the feedback that we got was effective, and it helped Huawei ultimately create a great product. So the key challenge was basically, how do you reach thousands and thousands and thousands of people to make sure that they give you some sort of response, or open up a dialogue with all these people, and keeping in mind that we are in PR, ensuring that your communications are controlled, they're on brand, that they're consistent, there's no errors along the way, it's timely, it's not taking forever. Those are all the challenges that existed this year, but also in previous years. And so by creating an automated system, and there was still an incredible amount of work to do on the back end in terms of liaising with developers, ensuring that the system worked properly and efficiently. But by automating that entire process, we were able to achieve our communications objectives. We were able to basically do it incredibly efficiently and cohesively as a whole. So I think that was the biggest challenge, but by coming up with a really unique and well thought out solution on the front end, that helped us over this. It was like a 5-month campaign, so that really helped us throughout the entirety of it. There were a couple things. I would say for me and the team, I think when we go back to the start of the campaign, when we were being briefed, as I mentioned, a lot of the solutions were pretty standard. They were landing sites or very simple mechanics, and we challenged ourselves to think about something a little bit different. And we were able to do exactly that. We did something that was very intricate and detailed on the back end, is very, very complex in terms of creating like a robot basically that can talk to users. But on the surface, it worked very simply. It was very effective. There was no flash or there was no other extra flair that didn't help with our ultimate goal. So I think in that sense, it was exactly what we needed. It was a very efficient product from our end. I think when we think about our client as well, they really loved hearing about it every step of the way. The fact that it was automated meant that we could get week by week, or even if we wanted to, day by day updates on how many people did we reach, how many more devices do we have to go, or how many pieces of feedback do we have. And so seeing our client who had trusted us with coming up with a little bit of a different solution, seeing their response was great, and then ultimately the fact that it won a gold at MEPRA is kind of the cherry on top. It would go back to the beginning when we wanted to make it consumer-centric. We thought about the people we were trying to reach, and we stripped everything away, and we really asked ourselves, what would they want? What would make them give us feedback? What would, they be thinking about on a daily basis? And so because we thought of that on the front end, we were able to achieve our objectives and much more. So I think the fact that we thought about things before just jumping into it, it was extremely effective, and it helped us do everything that we wanted to.